say it, but I will. Okay. And we graduated together. So the Turkish folks counselors on our team are like a lot of your kids, RC graduates, and then went to college overseas. And now this is what we do. Some of us live in the US, some of us in Europe, some of us in Turkey. So we all work together, and we have other friends from the community. We work ethically. We do not have partnerships with universities or anything like that. So we're not really educational agents. We're educational counselors. We typically work with students from ninth and 10th grade on to prepare them so that there's no, gaps in the training and progress up until university education, which is why we're so interested in the topic of curriculum. And we've invited Laurel Springs here. They've joined us before, but we're just so happy to have them join us once again. So Jack Dempsey's here and representing Laurel Springs, which is one of the best options in the US because he'll talk about this, but I just want to just mention it from an outside perspective because we're members of like a 3,300 you know consular organization based in DC called the Independent Educational Consultants Association. And when I ask my colleagues anywhere in the world, what is the best high school I would use all on an online basis, whether my child be involved in sports, athletics, so they can't really get full leverage out of a, brick and mortar high school, or I want to supplement their education with AP coursework. Everybody unanimously says Laurel Springs, which is why I went and knocked on their door in the first place. So with that, I would like to transition to Jack and we'll keep it fluid, like he said in the beginning, if that's okay with you. Thank you.
Well, I'm very honored to join once again. I believe this is the third time we've done a webinar for families in Turkey and in other countries. And the general consensus is that a modern day matriculation to a university, whether it's in the United States or perhaps in other countries, should really have some diversification above and beyond your current school's academic pathway. So every school has its strengths and weaknesses, and we're here to supplement and provide what you may not have access to at a very high level, and also in a time zone irrelevant capacity to where you're truly supported in the academic journey, whether it's an AP microeconomics course in the summer, whether it's an AP psychology throughout the school year. We do single course enrollments as well as full-time enrollments. We do have over 4,000 students attending online courses with Laurel Springs, both full-time and part-time. I would say 20% of that 4,000 would be international, and some from Turkey. So we've had many admittants take AP courses with great success. And I think the wonderful thing about the partnership with Admittance Education and Laurel Springs is that we're here to make sure that as parents, you have full transparency regarding the reality of not just the benefit of taking a higher level course, but understanding that it is truly accepted by all universities, internationally, and then also especially if you desire a US college matriculation. Laurel Springs was founded 33 years ago. We were the very first accredited online school in the history of our country. And throughout the years, as technology has progressed, we've really been able to refine the process to where, regardless of where a student lives, they would have very intimate support in their coursework with 24/7 live tutoring available. We have a partnership with Princeton Review and tutor.com, so that even if you live in Turkey, it could be 8 p.m. on a Thursday evening after dinner. And if your student was logging in to do coursework, they would have live help on demand ready and waiting for them when they want to ask a question. And they can also do translation through tutor.com if the questions are asked by parents as well. So it's been a wonderful situation internationally, but of course in the United States. one of the reasons, one of the things that I can proudly say about Laurel Springs is that we had 602 graduates just last year in 2024. And for those that sat for AP exams even last year in 10th grade, 11th grade, or 12th grade, 79% scored a 3 or better on the actual AP exam in person. The worldwide average for scoring a 3 or better on an AP exam is only 60%. Our students online score 79%, verified by the College Board themselves, and 56% scoring a 4 or a 5 on that AP exam in May, which is a shattering statistic above and beyond public schools, private schools, anywhere internationally. Even the most expensive boarding school you could place your child at, they still don't hit those targets as far as 4s or 5s at that 56, 57 percentile as far as AP exams. So we offer 24 College Board regulated AP courses from English, math, science, social studies, fine arts. And we're the only online school that offers the AP capstone diploma, which is AP seminar and AP research. So your child can actually achieve this, the highest level of kind of accolades in the AP realm is the capstone diploma, where it's research and seminars. So we're here to offer what is not possible through where you live locally. Even in the United States, it resonates as true. It could be anywhere from El Salvador to South Korea. We have students in 80 countries active at this very moment. Yeah, I think it's about 84 unique countries, and of course, all 50 states here in the US. It's important to note every single university in the US accepts our credits because they are regulated. Our curriculum is regulated by the College Board, and we teach to that spec, to that standard. So you don't have to fear whether or not the curriculum is strong enough, because it is AP College Board approved. And we continuously update annually, because if they change what the exam will have, our curriculum department is 1 to 2 years ahead of all changes that are coming ahead. So I'm here to support you and make sure that you have, if you decide to take a course with Laurel Springs, you have beautiful onboarding. We can have translated onboarding through admittance education. They are a wonderful team. I've been with Laurel Springs for almost 9 years, and they're truly one of our fondest partners because of the intimate care that they provide to their students internationally. It's very, very special. If I could have all of our partnerships internationally act with such care for each individual student, I would be overjoyed. But they are a world-class team, proven for decades, and I couldn't be more honored to be here today and answer any questions that a parent or an educator might have about the way that we operate.
Can I just add one thing? And we appreciate your comments there. What Jack's referring to is that let's say you're in 10th grade and some of the parents here are on the Q&A asking questions, and some of them are in Turkish, but they're really good questions. And basically, it's about which AP should I be taking, and that's where a consultant will come in. Like, we can actually look at your sequence and make sure you've done a career inventory and make certain recommendations, and then pair you up with Laurel Springs. That's what Jack's talking about. So we have a distinct role in what you should be doing. What's your roadmap in the first place?
Yeah, and I put a link in, that everyone can bookmark. I
Yeah.
think it's important to see a few things. Internationally, I believe that, the average parent, we even in the United States, as a parent of a young person, we grew up in a certain way, and the way our pathway, to matriculate from high school to college, which was much different for me, say in the 1990s, And then, of course, rising to modern day with technology, it's amazing what's possible. And a lot of parents would ask questions, about the learning process and how are they going to get one-on-one help, and how do things work. Of course, I can't read the comments in Turkish, but at the end of the day, the prerequisites to know as a parent that your child is ready for an AP course are actually not a mystery. So we have what are called scope and sequence documents for all of our AP courses, or even an honors level course, or any course in mathematics that might not even be AP. Maybe it's pre-calculus, or maybe it's honors algebra 2 with trigonometry. Any course at Laurel Springs, we can provide you with, as a parent, a course syllabus that shows you exactly what they learn in that course. And in that course scope and sequence, it tells you very clearly what the prerequisites are that give your child, the optimal chance of being successful in the course. So there's no mystery as to the proper way or the proper moment to take an AP course. It's just that with admittance education and their care, we can analyze your transcripts. Laurel Springs will cover the cost of a transcript, say in Turkish or in a different language other than English. We will cover the cost to translate your child's academic records to ensure that the course was taken as a prerequisite and that we're taking next steps. I wanted to mention that because I don't believe there's any other school that would do that for you. A lot of times parents need their records translated, and they have to pay that cost even before they enroll to show a school that they would be ready to take a course. Here, I will cover the cost for any Turkish family if they need their records translated prior to beginning.
We have such good questions. Do you want to keep going on other details of Laurel Springs, or should we switch to some things?
One thing I just wanted to mention, and it's hard for me to know what questions are being asked, but one of the most popular questions that we get from families all over the globe is, what do you do that's different than other online schools to prepare the students for the AP exam, which may be in May? And am I allowed to share my screen, Yasem?
Absolutely, yeah, you have that. You should have that.
Okay, so I'll share my screen for just a moment. Give me one moment here. Right. Hold on one moment, please. Okay, can everyone see my screen here?
Yes, it's good.
Okay, so at Laurel Springs, we have not just the curriculum that's regulated by the College Board to ensure the material is taught properly, but we go above and beyond, okay? And we do mock practice exams, and you can take up to 3 per subject that you're studying for. And we have dates. And as you can see right now, from March 7th through May 2nd, your student can join a live session, and they can join live study sessions, and then actually take a mock exam prior to the one that will count. And, common sense perhaps, but, when a child has been exposed to what they will be seeing in an exam and they've gone through the process, we can then use those mock exams to then mentor that child as to how to improve, multiple times before they actually take the exam itself. So this is just a brief, kind of sample calendar, but every AP course we do mock exams, and we would make sure that, they're invited to it, they're fully supported in it. And as a parent, you would know that your child has scored a certain percentile or a certain number before they take the real one that's going to count. And so it gives you all of the, kind of personal insight and professional insight as to how your child is really doing in the course. We will also give you an observer account. And as a parent, you can log in and you can see what assignment they're working on. You can see the teacher's feedback from the teacher to the student. You can see the feedback from the student to the teacher as well. And you can see all of the grades for, smaller assignments, essays. You can see how the teacher is reviewing the essay, say if it's an AP literature or AP language course, or psychology where they have a lot of written expression. And you can see all of their essays that they have submitted to Laurel Springs. And then you can see how it was graded and with the notes from the teacher in the margins, so that you can see what would have taken that paper where they scored, maybe average score. And the teacher is articulating clearly what would take that average to a higher level. So the benefit of doing it online is that when your child's in a schoolhouse, you're not seeing the interaction. You're getting the story from the day of how the teacher interacted with your student, that you're hearing your student's version of that feedback. As a parent at Laurel Springs, whether it's one class or full time, you can actually log in and see the videos that the teachers submit back to your children as in terms of feedback and coaching. You can get the audio clips, and also you can take all the written feedback. And then, of course, if you wanted to translate that, you could put that into Google Translate and probably get a pretty good understanding of what the teacher is saying to your child. And of course, Admittance Education can help you with that feedback as well. And they've been wonderful with great outcomes doing that. I am always at the disposal of parents and our partners. If you needed a special onboarding session, even before the course begins, I can have a specialist log in with your child and teach them how to navigate our online courses even before they begin. That way they can begin and actually feel comfortable with the software. So we're there to hit on resources there. Most other questions that I commonly hear internationally, because they want to know what the colleges actually think about Laurel Springs and our curriculum. So just to give you a reference point, this is the UC articulation site. This is UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC Davis, every UC school, and this is the list of Laurel Springs courses, okay, accepted by the UC system. And it's categorized by history and English, and they break it down into segments. But you can see the gold star here. What that means is that's considered UC honors level approved, which upon completion of the course itself, when they look at the transcripts from your Turkish school or your international school, plus Laurel Springs, they will average those with the star at a higher GPA than a 4.0 in the American system. So it's important to note that, whether it be AP European history, geography, world history, and as I scroll down, you can see AP language, literature, even our honors level courses. If you felt like your child wasn't ready for, say, a college level course in high school, even our honors level courses are still weighted at a higher GPA when submitted for review. And then even with the math, the calculus, the computer science, the statistics, etc. So sciences online are actually UC approved. And if you take one during the year, we will satisfy even their lab components. We have lab kits that we can send out. So I just wanted to give you some context. This is not Laurel Springs stating how we do. This is the University of California, and across all disciplines. These are all of our world languages, AP Art History, and it goes on and on to even courses that you can take in 9th grade, 10th grade, etc. So I hope that's helpful.
This is real helpful. Can I explain that in Turkish? Because there's been a couple requests to also
Absolutely.
parallel path what you're
Yes.
doing. So we don't want to bore you here ama şimdi Türkçe anlatın dediler. Ben bir şeyler ekleyeyim. Belki ekipten başkaları da bir ekleme yapmak isterlerse Jack'in söylediklerini anlayın istiyorum. Şöyle bir şey size gösterdiği chart. Ben bunu çok görüyorum. İyi okullarımızdan biri Amerika'ya liseye gelenler başladı şu anda. Sadece İngiltere değil Amerika'ya geliyorlar. Niye? Burada burs var. Hatta şey soruldu. Oradaki eğitim sistemi nedir liselerde? Direkt cevap veriyorum. Çoğu AP curriculum Amerikan bazlı bir sistem zaten. Burada AP veriyor ama IB veren ya da ikisini vermeyenler, karışık verenler de var Türkiye gibi. Biraz durum değil mi Nazan? Senin de çok öğrenci var Amerika'da. Aynen. Şimdi bu bir. İkincisi. Çocuklar şimdi şey gördünüz. Jack gösterdiğinde ekranını honors class'lar gördünüz. Bu ne diyorsunuz? Şimdi Robertliler bunu biliyordur. Bazılarınız da bilmiyordur. Ama şöyle bir şey var. Buradaki liselere transfer ettiğinizde ya da bırakın yani Türkiye'de de aynı şey bizim için geçerli. Bunun C konusu çok önemli. Mesela Veli soruyor bana 11'de işte fizik C ve calculus BC alsa çok fazla gelir mi? Şimdi benim buna cevap verebilmem için hangi okula gidiyor? Çocuğun seviyesi nedir o okul içerisinde? Not ortalaması kaçtır? İngilizcesi nasıldır? Bir de 9'a ne aldı, 10'da ne aldı bunları bilmem önemli. Çünkü bunlar aslında yapı taşları gibi birbiri üstüne oturtuluyor. Eğer çocuk gerekli background'u edinmediyse, mesela matematikte pre-calculus almadı, direkt normal matematikten geliyor. BC'ye koyamazsınız hayatta. Arada bir iki etap var çünkü atladı onları. Amerika'da bu işi daha böyle structured şekilde yönetiyorlar. Çünkü daha fazla opsiyon var. Honors opsiyonları var. Pre-calculus daha çok var. İşte Türkiye'de bazı okullarda da var ama yani bunları bilerek öğrencinin gelişimini aslında böyle proceed ederek belli bir çizelge içerisinde değerlendirmeniz o kadar önemli ki. Onun için o gösterdiği listede bir sürü isim gördünüz. Türkiye'de belki bir mana ifade etmiyor ama aslında bizler için onlara bakarak öğrencinin ne alacağına karar vermek çok önemli. Çünkü bir okul şunu söylemişti, hiç unutmuyorum konferansta. Dediler ki böyle biz şey İsviçre peyniri gibi delikli delikli netice beklemiyoruz. 3-4 istemiyoruz. Daha geride matematik alın, AB alın, BC almayın ama böyle solid olsun. 5 olsun. Onu tercih ederiz. Ne ekleyeceğiniz bir şey olur mu? Ekibe soru sorayım. Çünkü çok güzel şeyler anlattı. İngilizce bilmeyenlerimiz için onlar kaybolsun istemedim de.
Support sisteminden de bahsetti. Okulda çok güzel bir support sistemi var. Aslında bu kadar detaylı velileri de içeren bir sistem yok bence Türkiye'de. Bilmiyorum bana katılır mısın ama yani öğrencinin seviyesini an be an neredeyse takip edebiliyorsunuz ve şeyi görebiliyorsunuz. Yani eseğinde bir düzeltmeler yaptıysa daha iyileştirmek için onu bile görebiliyorsunuz. Artı şey de çok iyiydi. Mock exam vermesi sınava girmeden önce 3
Hı
tane
hı.
online mock exam alabiliyor olmanız da hani şey
Evet,
avantajlı ve full time'da aynı zamanda on demand supportları var ders çalışırken ödevini yetiştirirken ihtiyacı olduğu zaman
aynen.
ondan da bahsetti. Onlar da artılar arada kaçmasın
Sağ ol.
hani.
Evet ben bir taraftan da sorulara cevap verdim. Türkçe bir sürü böyle özelden gelenler de oldu da o yüzden. Teşekkür ederim onun için. Okay, I think we're caught up. So we kind of summarized and added on and kind of tried to put it into Turkish context because we don't always have honors classes offered here. So I wanted to explain to people how it works. So
Yeah.
um,
Also, I will speak to just one thing as well, is that we have hundreds of school partners internationally, not just consultants or athletic coaches. Of course, we we see children come to Laurel Springs to have a lifestyle in their sports to where they can train at a high level and still matriculate according to the rules of NCAA admissions for universities. But our international families typically come for the courses to help them tell the compelling story of their child's pathway. So if your student is not an athlete or a performing artist and they're just seeking validation that the story that they're telling and the essays that they will eventually write to these universities for admissions, we're here to validate that story through the students taking accredited, legitimized work and credits earned in a particular pathway. So for example, if you have a child that is leaning towards business or entrepreneurship and they want to go to Babson College, which is for entrepreneurship or business, or if they want to go to a Cal Poly or a Lehigh University for engineering, in the STEM, kind of pathway, we would also have not just the core courses, but we have about 100 electives as well. And when you complete those accredited courses, it then validates proof of concept. If you're writing the story about how you wish to come to the United States to study in the STEM field, for instance, or any other country, when you have that example of accredited work, say a biotechnology or medical terminology, if your child wants to become a doctor, we have hundreds of electives that you can choose from. And then you would have a real transcript from a US private school that then you can submit to those universities, and it validates the pathway that your child is on. It could be humanities, it could be business, it could be science. If they want to be an attorney, a doctor, whatever their pathway is, we also have other courses that can validate the pathway that they're on. So they're not just saying what they want to do, they've proved through coursework that they're truly passionate enough to study both at their school and above and beyond their school.
Let me answer a question that came through. I think they might have missed the section in the beginning, so I'm going to repeat some of that. Is that okay? And I'll do so in Turkish. Okay, thank you for that. Şöyle güzel soru geldi. Onu tekrarlamak istiyorum. Türkçe, belki ekip de ne olur siz de eklemeler yapın istiyorsanız. Şimdi iki şey söyleyeceğim aslında. Bir tanesini başında söylemedim ama üniversite başvuru admission departmanı bakıyor öğrencinin başvurusuna. Okulu tanıyorsa, mesela okulun Robert College tanıyor, geliyor, ziyaret ediyor zaten. Aşağı yukarı her üniversite, hepsi değil ama çoğu, %95'i geliyor Türkiye'ye. Ama başka bir okulumuzsa, yani Üsküdar'da tanınır, Koç'ta tanınır. Not as much as the other ones ama bilirler hepsi. Konuşuyoruz çünkü aynen bu şekilde duyuyoruz onlardan. Ama başka bir okulsa öğrencinin performansı ile ilgili veri topluyor başvurusundan. Çünkü buraya geldiğinde, aldığında, buraya veyahut da burs verecek, hatta getirdiğinde çocuğu, Lehigh mesela, hepsini bilmiyor. Tamam, çok iyi bir üniversite ama bilmiyor hepsini. Jack Lehigh dediği için onu kullandım örnek olarak. Oturuyor. Bu çocuk buraya getirdiğinde beğeniyorum diyor bunun başvurusunu, ama buraya getirdiğinde nasıl bu kadar başarılı olacağından ben emin miyim? Bu bursu hak ediyor mu? Oturuyor, SAT'si var mı diye bakıyor. AP'leri var mı diye bakıyor. AP'den bir de ders almışsa, akredite bir Amerika lisesinden, o gene böyle de-risk vazifesi görüyor. Yani bu çocuk herhalde iyi bir vazife şey yapacak. Performans çıkaracak. Çünkü notlarına, size bir soru sorayım şimdi, doğru dümdüz böyle transparan bir soru. Bir Türk lisesine gidiyorsa ya da işte Üsküdar olmayan, Koç olmayan bir liseye gidiyorsa, 100 üstünden 99,5 aldıysa ortalaması, siz ona Amerikan başvuru müdürü olsanız güvenir misiniz? Not enflasyonu yok mu bir sürü okulumuzda? Her okulda yok ama bazılarında var, değil mi? Bunu benim gibi herkes biliyor. Yani Bursa'da bir öğrencim vardı. Sen sınıfta kaçıncısın dedim. Çünkü 100'dü ortalaması. Birincisin herhalde dedim. Hayır, herkesin 100. Çünkü bize önceden neticeleri veriyorlar dedi. Anladınız değil mi şimdi Amerika'daki başvuru müdürünün challenge'ını? Bir. İkincisi, AP'ler çalındı Türkiye'de. Bunu ben College Board'la konuşuyorum burada konferansta. Adamla karşı karşıya. Nasıl yani? Tamam mı? Gazeteye çıktı ama College Board bunu biliyor ki buradaki liselerde iptal etti. Biliyor ki bir sürü çocuk girdi. Çalınmış neticeler de 5 aldı. Bunu istemiyor. Ben liseye de gittim. Orada da notum da A ya da B+. O da fena değil. Ben gerçekten gitmişim. Gerçekten bu materyali görmüşüm. Girip de biri bana soruları satmamış 4.000 dolara. Anlıyorsunuz değil mi bütün söylemek istediğimi? Bunu bilmiyorlar zannetmeyin. Hatta Lehigh örneğinden devam edeyim mi? Biliyor musunuz ki geçen sonbahar bazı öğrenciler federal yani bunu söylemek çok zor ama yani hapse atıldı. Kabul edilmiş olan öğrenciler başvuru sırasındaki manipülasyonlar nedeniyle dokümanlara yaptıkları yakalandılar. Ve hapse atıldılar. Sonra bilmiyorum ne oldu. Yani gidip sormadım. Sonra baktım Lehigh bir sürü insanı almadı bu sene Türkiye'den. Bu başka Türkiye'de değildi bu arada. Başka bir ülkeden çocukları attılar. Gana'dan. Bu gerçekten oldu. Gazetede çıktı çünkü. Hatta bu Amerika grubunda o zaman paylaşmıştık. Yani çok dikkat etmeniz gerekiyor. Böyle gerçek olmayan şeyler var Türkiye'de. Bunu üniversiteler biliyorlar Amerika'da. Onun için bir de çocuk transkript almış olursa yani aynı parayı tutor'a vereceğimize buraya vereceğiz. Hiçbir şey fark etmiyor. Aynı şekilde hatta daha iyi hazırlanıyor. Yani bütün bu toplantının amacı oydu aslında size bunu göstermek. Yani iki karar A ile B arasında fiyat farkı yok. Bir tanesinin çok daha fazla faydası olabiliyor. Ben orada şey yapayım. e, Durdurayım açıklamamı. Biraz da fazla anlattım belki ama susayım. Başka yeni case var mı derken bir soru geldi özelden de onu sorayım. Mesela nasıl bir case istiyorsunuz? Evet çok üniversite bunu biliyor. Bir tek bir örnek verdim. Türkiye'de bu oluyor. Bu biliniyor Amerika'da. Bütün üniversiteler biliyor.
Are there any specific parental questions that are intimate to the taking of a course?
Ya, Türkçe de sorabilirsiniz. Buraya da yazabilirsiniz. Kendinizi mute'dan çıkarıp da sorabilirsiniz. Biz tercüme ederiz hepsini. I said we can just translate their questions as well.
Yeah, please.
Hoca fiyatları, tutor fiyatları nasıl Türkiye'de şu anda? I'm asking about tutoring because tutoring has downsides too and cost. So that's a good
Yeah.
comparison. I was actually making,
Ours is included in our
yeah,
course.
it's
So
not extra. Yeah, it's a
no,
part
it's
of
not
it.
extra.
Yeah,
No. We'll cover tutoring irrelevant to their time zone,
yeah,
and we'll also cover the translation of their records in terms of cost for them. They won't have
yeah.
to spend any money to translate if we need to clearly identify that the child is ready for that particular AP course. Some courses are actually more suitable to take in, say, ninth grade, 10th grade, if the prerequisite for, say, like microeconomics, AP microeconomics, AP macroeconomics, the prerequisite is only the completion of Algebra 1, which a lot of students do in 8th or ninth grade. So that's a beautiful example of what you can take in your earlier years, and then it frees up your schedule to take the more rigorous, say like an AP psychology, where maybe you should do biology first and some other courses, but you can take courses without prerequisites as well. AP European history does not actually have a prerequisite. AP art history actually looks wonderful on a college transcript, because whether it's Duke or Stanford or North Carolina or University of Texas or anywhere in the United States, they're going to want to see a fine art credit on that transcript, on your overall high school transcript. And it can be from any and all schools attended. AP art history does not have a prerequisite that you need to take prior. So that's one that's very popular internationally, because we know you don't have to worry, did I satisfy the prerequisite for AP art history? No, you can take that in ninth grade. So one thing I can always do is make sure that we're on the right side of history for your student. And through admittance education, even at Laurel Springs, we would make sure that we are certain prior to enrollment that if there's any support in terms of language, if English as a second language, of course, is a very common topic when we work with students from all over the globe. And so we will do this with the student in mind first. Laurel Springs, after 33 years, we have a reputation for ensuring that we're on the right side of history for the student first, always. So we need to make sure, even if we have to give a Zoom where we'll speak to a child, if we have to ask them to do a writing sample, just to kind of see where their writing is in a general context, because you read to learn, right? And you learn to read. And we need to make sure that these things are at a level to where, as a parent, you can feel very confident knowing it is the proper decision to enter the course if English is your second language. And we will stop if it's not appropriate for the child. We will not proceed. We will always be honest and transparent. And if we feel like the math, if you want to take an AP calculus, we want to make sure that you really are ready for the AP calculus, because we wish for the outcome to benefit the student. We don't want to stress out a busy student that already has a full course load or a lifestyle that they're living. We want to make sure that it's always appropriate and that the student is a willing participant in the process. If so, we have so much support for them. They can meet with their teachers by appointment as well. So if you're wondering how the student-teacher relationship works from Turkey to the United States with your teacher, you can make appointments with your actual Laurel Springs teacher, and they can bring up, presenting materials. They can bring, if it's a math class, they can do formulas on the screen together, like math formulas on the screen together. And they can have one-on-one time that's very meaningful. A lot of children, regardless of where they live, any country, you might have 20 children in a classroom or 30 children in a classroom. And depending on your child's personality, they might not be the kind of child that raises their hand in the classroom. And so when all of your interactions regarding the learning process are one-on-one and deliberate to the task at hand, that's why we see the results that we see. It's a distraction-free learning environment. Mm-hmm. And so it's been very impactful, and it's a direct correlation to our success with our scores. Has to do with the actual learning process being direct. Your student would be meeting with their teacher just like we're talking, only the teacher has additional classroom resources that they can open up and work with your student one-to-one. And that's why it's been successful.
Let me try to translate some of the important points there so it's not lost. Önemli şeyler söyledi çünkü evvelden istenmişti bu. Şöyle özetleyeyim, bir şey unuttuysam ne olur Yasemin, Nazan, siz de atlayın. Birincisi, daha biraz geri döneyim. Tutoring'le karşılaştırıyoruz. Tabii diploma alıyorsunuz, bir de onu anladık. İkincisi, ayrıca tutoring bedava offer ediyorlar. Yani 24 saat zannediyorum, zaman diliminize göre gidip de soru sorabileceğiniz birisi var. 24 saat aksesiniz var. İkincisi, Laurel Springs'ten ders aldığınız hocayla ayrıca toplantı yapabiliyorsunuz. Velilerinizle gidip mesela soru sorabiliyorsunuz. Access size available'lar. Önceden randevu, yani dersler haricindeki toplantıdan bahsediyorum. Bunu da açıklar. Bir de transkriptlerin tercümelerini de kendileri üstleniyorlar. Yani ücret olarak baktığınızda, şimdi ona dair de güzel bir soru geldi. Onu da soracağım direkt. Ama ücret olarak baktığınızda daha ucuza çıkacak bence tutoring'den, sonuçta öyle oluyor. Biz kullandığımızda öğrencilerimiz için genelde o yüzden aileler memnundu. Bir de söylediği şey şu, benim anlattığım hikaye gibi öğrencinin seviyesi önemli. Şimdi ben gitsem her AP dersinden yüksek bir fiyat kazanmak isteyen bir şirkete, hatta tutoring şirketine versem, böyle 40 saat alsam, ama benim seviyem Calculus BC değil ve bu senenin sonunda Mayıs'ında girmem lazım teste. Şimdi bunlar bana ders satarak kazandıkları için tamam hadi gel gel gel diyecekler, alacaklar. Yani bütün Türkiye'de nasıl işlediğini size anlatmama gerek yok. Herkes çok iyi biliyor. Biz böyle çalışmıyoruz. Laurel Springs de böyle çalışmıyor. Oturup bakacaklar çocuğun seviyesine. Zaten önce biz bakacağız. O bizim öğrencimizse zaten bileceğiz seviyesini. Dışarıdan gelense ses yapacağız. Soracağız ne aldınız şimdiye kadar. Bunu Hande kaç kere yaptı mesela. Nazan'da biliyorlar hepsi. Oturup gerçekten hangi dersleri aldın? Sen bu derse hazır mısın? Ondan sonra biz toplantı yapıyoruz bu tarafta. Tamam seni alırız. Diyelim e, başladınız Laurel Springs'e ama İngilizce seviyeniz yeterli değil. Onlar da bir assessment yapıyor. Sizinle oturup konuşuyorlar, bir şey yazdırıyorlar. Yani anlamayacağınız, hazır olmadığınız şeyi aldırmıyoruz. Ona hazırlayacak derse koyarlar onun yerine. Yani bayağı insan gibi çocuğun faydası için çalışılıyor. Yani tamamen Türkiye'deki sistemden farklı bir düzen var. There was a really good question about pricing in general, just to give us a general idea. Would you be willing to share that here, or should I inquire? And we're
Yeah,
willing to share that as well if you like after.
yeah. So one thing I can do to make this easy here, I
Sure.
can also put
Thank you.
a link to our
I
pricing.
see. Okay.
But
Fiyatları
I
koyuyoruz
think,
orada.
yeah, let me just put this here for you.
Adnan Bey'in sorusu, yani tamamen kontekste bağlı değerlendirmeniz lazım o soruyu. Yani İngiltere'ye başvuruyorsanız hayır cevabı. Amerika'ya başvuruyorsanız okuluna da göre de cevap verebiliriz
So
diyeceğim size.
yeah, so the link to admissions and tuition is there.
Hı hı. Peki.
However, as you know go down that tuition link, let me just go to it myself again. What you would spend at a Laurel Springs course for advanced placement, uh, say like an AP microeconomics, an AP macroeconomics, AP US government,
Hı
those
hı.
would all be one semester AP courses, and those would be 1,500. And then AP courses such as AP biology or AP psychology, a full credit, full year course, those would be 2,100. And we can waive the registration fee for admittance education. Students that come through our webinars, and we can waive the registration fee. Usually that's an additional registration fee of 150, but this year in 2025, I'll waive that for any family in Turkey that if Yasem or her team emails me directly, I'll go ahead and make sure that I note that there's no additional cost. The only other cost that I can think of regarding an AP course is if there is a College Board mandated laboratory kit. So if there's a AP chemistry, for instance, comes with a kit that you would do labs in person, and you would record yourself doing that lab and submit that to your teacher and keep a journal as well. AP biology or AP physics. Usually it's the science courses that would come with a lab kit. And those are usually about $200 for the lab kits that are College Board AP regulated in terms of those lab kits. Other courses can be taken fully online, and that would be your all-in cost would be including the tutoring, including the teachers, and everything would be monitored through admittance education. And then also as a parent, you would have access as well. There are no limits to how many appointments you can have with your teacher. And I want to make sure that that's very clear, because Monday through Friday, your teacher has office hours, much like at a university, your professor after class would have office hours. At a university, it could be 2-3 days a week for office hours. At Laurel Springs, it's 5 days a week your teacher has office hours. And you can just enter their virtual office, and we'll teach the students how to do that. Proper onboarding. You'll know exactly how to navigate before you even begin, but you can meet with your teacher 5 days a week. And if the office hours for that teacher aren't suitable to your time zone, you can make an appointment with them, or you can use the 24/7 live tutoring through Princeton Review and tutor.com. So a lot of support, and then admittance education would also have other resources to support as well.
Okay, somebody asked if the student took 5 APs. This is something I can answer, but they want to send 4 of them to the university. How does that work? O soruya cevap vereyim ben. I'll do so in Turkish if that's okay. Şimdi tamam, College Board'un kendi öğrencilerimiz biliyor bunu. Bir sistemi var. Bir tanesini iptal ediyorsunuz. Ama 4'ünü sadece seçip SAT'de olduğu gibi yollayamıyorsunuz. Hani ya bir tanesini iptal edeceksiniz ya da hepsini birden görecek üniversiteler. Onu da bilmiyorum. Bir şeyin silindiğini görebiliyorlar. Ama bunu yapanlar çok oluyor. Özellikle 9'da zavallılar BC falan alırlarsa, yani 10'da genellikle e, yani iyi olmuyor neticeleri. Onları iptal ettirmek zorunda kalıyor. Veliler bizim şimdiye kadar gördüğümüz. I answered that in Turkish. So, couple more minutes if there's any more questions. We've really gone over all the material, and I can just stop the
Yeah.
recording if that's all right. But then maybe we can still take a couple questions if folks are willing to.